She wore white to my wedding. Then things got worse. I found this story online, and honestly, I still can't believe it's real. It sounds like something out of a drama series, but nope, this actually happened. And once you hear what this mother-in-law did, you'll understand why the internet completely exploded over it. The story is told from the bride's point of view. So buckle up. You know how people say your wedding should be the happiest day of your life? Yeah, ours almost wasn't. 2 weeks ago, my husband, let's call him Jake, though everyone close to him calls him Bucky, because, honestly, he looks uncannily like that Marvel character, and I got back from our honeymoon. We'd spent a week just soaking in each other, no drama, no phones, no pressure. Pure bliss. I'm 24, Jake's 26, and I swear, he's the kind of guy that turns heads when he walks into a room, tall, rugged, and somehow both tough and tender. My Bucky is even better than the movie version. And trust me, that's saying something. Anyway, yesterday was our first dinner with his family since we got married. Nothing fancy, just a casual evening, but I'd been kind of anxious about it for reasons I'll get into in a second. The moment I walked in and saw his younger sister, let's call her Emily, I felt a little wave of relief. Emily is 20, smart as a whip, and funny as hell. She's like the little sister I never had, and I love her to bits. That's why she was my maid of honor. She pulled me aside during the evening, gave me this look like, "Girl, you need to sit down," and whispered, "I need to tell you what actually happened on your wedding day." And let me tell you, what she said next left me absolutely stunned. But before I get into that, I need to rewind for a sec. See, Jake's mom, we'll call her Diane, never liked me. And I don't mean in a passive, keep her distance kind of way. I mean from day one, she was cold. Frostbite cold. But only when Jake wasn't looking. In front of him, she was smiles and sweet words. But the second he left the room, it was like flipping a switch. The comments, the attitude, it was constant. At first, I stayed quiet. I thought, maybe she just needed time. Maybe she'd warm up to me. I mean, Jake and I were serious. I figured she'd come around. But months passed, and it only got worse. Eventually, I couldn't take it anymore. I told Jake everything, every snide comment, every side eye, all of it. Jake, bless his heart, didn't brush me off. He talked to his mom about it, tried to get to the bottom of things. But Diane? She played it off like I was overreacting. Said I was reading too much into things. And the worst part? She got even better at it. The passive-aggressive remarks became subtle, like little landmines that only I could hear go off. Jake believed me, but he also didn't want to believe his mom could be that cruel. He was caught in the middle. And I don't blame him for that, he wanted to believe the best in both of us. When he proposed, I thought, maybe, just maybe, this would be the turning point. But no. If anything, Diane just got sneakier. More strategic. And I'll be honest, there was a point where I almost called the whole wedding off. I couldn't take the mental gymnastics anymore. We argued, and it hurt. Jake was always on my side, but he still didn't want to see his mom as the villain. But we powered through. We made it to the planning stage. And thank God for Emily, because she helped me with everything, from invitations to centerpieces. Diane stayed mostly out of it, and for the first time in months, things felt calm. I finally let myself hope for a drama-free wedding day. And from what I saw on that day, it was perfect. We started a little late, but Jake told me there was something last minute he had to deal with. I didn't think much of it, figured it was a scheduling hiccup or someone forgetting something. The usual chaos. I was tucked away in the bridal suite, sipping champagne and trying not to cry my makeup off. But Emily? She told me the truth yesterday. And wow! I had no idea what went down. Apparently, Diane showed up to the venue wearing a white dress. A white dress. At her son's wedding. To say that crossed a line is the understatement of the year. Jake spotted her and immediately called Emily, his siblings, and his dad into his ready room. He told them to bring Diane with them. He wanted to talk to her, privately, before the ceremony started. Emily said Diane walked in all smiles, like nothing was wrong, and tried to hug him. Jake just stepped back and asked her, calmly at first, "What are you wearing?" She played it off. Said it was just a dress. That's when he repeated the question, this time with more edge, "Why are you wearing white to my wedding? Why would you do that to the woman I love? Are you trying to ruin today for us?" And here's the part that gets me. He said, "My wedding, not her wedding." And that apparently shook Diane. She tried to downplay it again, claiming he was being dramatic. Just a dress, nothing more. That's when Jake snapped. He raised his voice, not just angry, but heartbroken. He told her he finally understood. That I hadn't been exaggerating, that she'd been purposely trying to sabotage things. He said he'd spent so long defending her to me, and now he realized I was the one who needed defending all along. When his dad tried to cut in, Jake shut him down too. Told him he didn't want to hear it, that standing by and letting Diane act this way made him complicit. I honestly couldn't believe it. Jake had always been respectful toward his parents, even when they disagreed. But that day, he stood up for me like a man with nothing left to lose. And then, and this part gives me chills, he looked Diane in the eye and said, "Because you're my mom, I'm willing to give you 30 minutes. That's it. Leave now. I don't care where you go, home, the store, whatever, just don't come back in that dress. Come back changed. Or don't come back at all. If you walk back in wearing white, I swear to you, you will never see me, my wife, or our future kids again." Do I make myself clear? That's the moment she broke. She left. And when she came back, she was wearing a blue dress. From my point of view, the ceremony was flawless. I had no idea any of that had happened behind the scenes. Jake didn't say a word about it until Emily told me. And now, I honestly don't know how to thank this man enough. His birthday's coming up in a few months, and I've got to come up with something truly special. Because let's be real, this guy didn't just marry me. He chose me, over everything. And that means more than I can put into words. It's been a little over 2 months since I last sat down to share any of this, and honestly, I didn't think I'd need to. I thought we were past the worst of it. But, here we are. Before I dive into what happened, I just want to say thank you to everyone who reached out after my last story. The support, the kindness, even the shock and outrage you shared on my behalf meant more than you know. But real quick, I need to clear something up. A lot of people messaged or commented suggesting that I reward my husband for how he stood up for me at the wedding, with, certain activities. And look, I get it. I really do. But come on, guys. We're newlyweds. What do you think we've been doing? Trust me, we are very much enjoying that part of our marriage. As for the more adventurous suggestions, especially the one about a threesome, yeah, that's gonna be a hard no. We're spicy, not insane. But let me say this, sex isn't a reward in our relationship. It's part of our connection, part of how we show love, not a prize for good behavior. Jake, that's my husband, didn't stand up for me at the wedding to earn something. He did it because he loves me. Because he chose me. And that is the kind of man he is. That's why, for his birthday, I've planned something really special. We're heading to Las Vegas for the weekend. He knows we're going somewhere, but he has no idea what I've got lined up. I made reservations at Gordon Ramsay's Hell's Kitchen, which he's obsessed with. He watches every single episode like it's football. He's going to lose it when we walk through those doors. But anyway, now for the part one didn't think I'd have to write. The update. We've officially gone no contact with his mom. And low contact with his dad. And get this, Jake's sister, Emily, who I mentioned before, moved out of their parents' house completely. She's crashing with a friend right now, about a 20-minute walk from where we live. What triggered all this? Well, for a few weeks after the wedding, things were quiet. Jake's mom, Diane, wasn't exactly warm and fuzzy, but she wasn't throwing daggers either. She was tolerable. I honestly started to wonder if maybe she'd taken what happened at the wedding to heart. But I was wrong. So wrong. 3 weeks ago, we were invited to a family gathering. A potluck kind of thing, where everyone brings a dish. I decided to make something a little special, a rum cake recipe my college roommate taught me. She's originally from South America, and the cake, called viado or something like that, is a serious labor of love. It takes hours to make. You can't just whip it up last minute. You need the right ingredients, the right touch, and more than a little patience. I had to call my old roommate for a refresher on the recipe, then hunt down this specialty sugar-based rum from a tiny international shop downtown. It wasn't just baking. It was an event. Jake, bless him, stayed in the kitchen with me the entire time. Pouring wine for me, cracking jokes, dipping his fingers into the batter for taste tests, even though we both knew he just wanted a spoonful of rum-infused batter. We spent hours laughing and talking and dancing to music as the cake baked. It was perfect. At the gathering, things started off fine. Honestly, for the first hour or so, it felt like maybe, just maybe, we were finally entering a new phase with his family. The food was great, people were relaxed, and I even caught Diane smiling once or twice. Then Jake mentioned something during a casual conversation, something we hadn't even decided on yet. He shared that he'd been offered a job. A really good one. But it would mean moving out of state. Now, we hadn't made a decision yet. There were a lot of pieces to consider. I still don't know if I'd be able to transfer or work remotely, or if I'd have to look for a new position entirely. It's not a small thing to up and move your whole life, and we were still processing it. But the second Diane heard out of state, she completely unraveled. And I mean full-blown meltdown. She stood up, red in the face, and just started screaming. Not talking. Screaming. At me. Accusing me of stealing her only baby boy. Telling me I was dragging him away, tearing apart the family, destroying everything. People were staring. Conversation stopped. I was frozen, completely stunned. I literally couldn't move. Jake tried to calm her down, stepping in, raising his voice slightly, but she wasn't listening. It was like she didn't even hear him. And then, she did something I will never forget. She marched over to the food table, picked up my cake, the one I spent hours on, the one Jake and I made together with love, and she threw it on the ground. Smashed it. Like it was garbage. I remember hearing the dish crack. The sound echoed in my ears. And then everything around me just kind of disappeared. All I could do was fall to my knees and stare at the mess. This cake, it wasn't just food. It was effort. It was culture. It was time. It was hours. I kept whispering to myself, over and over, it's just a cake. It's just a cake. But it wasn't. It was what it meant that broke me. Jake was yelling, I couldn't even make out the words, just the fury in his voice. I'd never heard him that angry. Not even close. Eventually, he came over, helped me up, and without saying a word to anyone else, we left. In the car, he held my hand and just kept repeating, we're never going back. I promise you, we are never going back. When we got home, we sat in silence for a while. Just, processing. I didn't even bring up going no contact. I didn't have to. Jake looked at me and said, I already told her. We're done. Unless you decide otherwise, I want no contact with her. We took out our phones right then and blocked her. Both of us. Done. Then Jake called his dad and said, put me on speaker. Once he knew Diane was listening, he said, "You're both on notice. Diane is not welcome in our home. Not now, not ever, unless she takes full responsibility and makes serious changes. And even then, we'll see. Until then, we're no contact. We won't be at any gathering where she's present. This is not up for discussion." Apparently, she tried to interrupt, but Jake hung up before she could even finish her sentence. "And now? We're seriously considering that job offer. We haven't accepted it yet, but the idea of leaving all this behind, of starting fresh somewhere new, it's tempting. Really tempting. If we do leave, it won't be just for the job. It'll be for peace. For space. For us. And honestly, that feels like the best gift we could give ourselves. The Pamela saga is over. Not in the way we imagined. Not with healing, or reconciliation, or some teary family dinner where forgiveness is exchanged over dessert. No. That's not the ending life gave us. But it is the ending we're left with. Before I get to that, let me take you back a little, back through the last few months, which have been some of the most emotionally confusing weeks of my life. Going no contact sounds simple. You draw a line. You set a boundary. You walk away. But when the person on the other side doesn't accept that boundary, it gets complicated fast. Jake and I had blocked his mother after the cake incident. We didn't announce it with fireworks or Facebook posts. We just stepped away. Quietly. For our peace. For our future. But Pamela wasn't having it. If we went no contact, she went full contact, and yes, pun intended. She got a new number and started texting Jake. He didn't notice right away. He usually keeps his phone on silent during meetings, but when he checked, there were 20 messages waiting. At first, they were apologetic. Or, well, sort of. The usual, "I'm sorry, but, you're overreacting, we're family, and family works through things." But when Jake didn't respond, her tone flipped like a light switch. The messages got mean. Demanding. Manipulative. So he blocked her again. Then she got another number. And then another. It was relentless. A digital siege. After a week of this, Jake finally called his father. He asked him to put Pamela on speaker, and I stayed in the room, silent, just listening. He didn't want me to engage. Just to hear what was said. Jake told her, calmly, clearly, that we were still no contact because of how she treated me. He said her behavior since then had only made things worse. Pamela asked, for how long? Jake told her the truth, until my wife decides otherwise. And that's when she detonated the last bridge she had left. She said, and I quote, that, "Slur for black people, slur for Chinese people, will never be fair." I heard it. Every vile syllable. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't even realize I'd gasped until Pamela asked, "Is she there?" Jake looked at me. I looked back at him. We didn't need words. We just made our decision. He ignored her question and said, very calmly, "We've decided. I'm taking the job offer. And we're moving far away from you." Then he hung up. I don't think Pamela was truly racist, not in the way people think of when they picture hate groups or extremists. I think she said something racist in a moment of rage and self-destruction. And sometimes, that's all it takes. One moment. One choice. One truth finally revealed. And for us? It was enough. Everything after that moved fast. Jake accepted the new job. He gave notice at his old one. I arranged to work remotely, and there's already a satellite office opening in the new city in a few months. I'm first on the transfer list. It felt like the universe was quietly paving a road for us. Within a month, we were gone. New apartment. New city. New chapter. And for 2 months, we heard nothing from Pamela. No messages. No calls. Nothing from her or anyone else. Just silence. Until 2 weeks ago. We were getting ready for dinner, I was sautéing garlic and Jake was uncorking a bottle of wine, when his phone rang. It was his dad. He picked up, put it on speaker, and I knew something was wrong the moment I heard his father's voice. Pamela had been in a car accident. A bad one. There was a multi-vehicle pileup on the highway. Several fatalities. Pamela was one of them. It didn't feel real at first. It still doesn't, honestly. 1 minute we're shielding ourselves from her words, her anger, her refusal to let go, and the next, she's just gone. We flew back for the funeral. Because even if we'd cut ties, that was still Jake's mother. She gave him life. She raised him. She loved him, in her own deeply flawed way. And despite everything, the heartbreak, the screaming, the pain, we were still hoping. Hoping that someday, somehow, there could be healing. But life had other plans. I think what I've learned through all of this is that not all stories get tied up with a bow. Some endings are just jagged. Messy. Unfinished. We never got closure. We never got to sit across a table and say the things that needed to be said. And now, we never will. That's the reality of it. But we're still here. Still standing. Still together. And in case you're wondering, yes, Jake's birthday trip to Vegas was amazing. We had dinner at Hell's Kitchen. He was in heaven at Hell's Kitchen, weird sentence, I know, but accurate. The food was incredible, and we even caught a glimpse of Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen. Didn't get to meet him, but Jake lit up like a little kid just seeing him through the glass. That moment, that smile on his face, I'll hold on to that forever. Because even with everything that's happened, all the heartache, the upheaval, the grief, we made it. We're still us. And that means everything.